I am a civil engineer and I mentioned that tunneling in the area of tunneling. So I like to give the example. The tunnel boring machine which is used for tunneling in Jaipur also is being used is a clear example of this, what I just now said. This is basically a mechanical equipment for boring a tunnel below ground. But you see the integration of technology. The tunnel boring machine, typically the underground system, if you are aware, is nothing but two underground stations, an inverted 2-story or 3-story building below ground level, a rectangular type of building, just a normal building, and connected by tunnels, these two stations connected by the tunnels. And what is done normally, the works are done simultaneously. You start construction 2 stations, and then the tunnel boring starts, machine starts from one station, goes to the other. Now, see the precision required in the alignment. The tunnel boring machine is starting from this station. You can't afford that the machine, while touching the other station, goes 1 meter this way or that way. The precision required in millimeters. And therefore, what is done? It is again software controlled. The alignment in the form of XYZ coordinate is fed into the computer, and then the tunnel boring machine is guided by the system. Within millimeter, it reaches the other station. So the use of software, the survey, GPS-based survey, then the tunnel boring machine is basically cuts the rock or geology below. It requires very high level of metallurgy discipline, the type of picks, type of cutting tools required for a particular geology. This requires the cut material, excavated material required to be maintained at some level of consistency. It requires some sort of foam to be injected inside, and then it comes the chemical engineering. I just wanted to give this example of technology integration across the board. Now coming back to the development, the national development and the opportunity available before you. We lived for about 50 years after independence. When we were young in school, we were taught India lives in villages. Bharat Krishi Pradhan Desh hai. And for 50 years, the policymakers, the politicians never thought, never considered anything about the cities, urban areas. And they were all, cities were neglected. We continued with those notions, false notions, because the urbanization is the natural phenomenon. The search for a better life, better employment, movement towards the urban area is a natural phenomenon. You see, all the developed countries, they have almost 100% urbanization. And therefore, the urbanization and development goes side by side. This is a reality now. I think in late 90s this was realized, and now that is why you talk of Jawaharlal Nehru urban renewal missions or smart cities. In 70s or 60s or 80s, no politicians dared to talk of urban this thing because of the fear of losing rural votes. So this is a reality, a phenomena. If I give you some figures, in 18,000 AD, the entire world, only 3% people were living in cities. Then by 1900, another 100 years, only 14% people were living in the cities. And at that time, in India, also the urbanization was about 10%. In 1951, immediately after the independence, we were about 17% only in urban area. And but today we have crossed almost 30%. So we are now moving towards the more and more urbanization. This will go to 40%, 50%. The GDP will also increase, and the contribution of cities and urban area will be more and more. Why I am telling you? Because the urbanization means what? For taking care of so many people, you need to develop these cities. You have to create the infrastructure. You have to create the manufacturing facility, create the service sector, and improve that. A study conducted by McKinsey Global Institute in 2010 about the Indian urbanization scenario, and that gives a sort of a window for opportunities. They say by 2030, our GDP will be 5 times, and 590 million people, 59 crore people will live in cities by that time, by 2030. And 70% of net employment will be in cities. And 68 cities will be having population of more than 1 million. With this, what will be required? 2.5 billion square meter of road will be required, which will be 20 times what we have done in last 2 decades. This will be requirement. Coming towards specifically 7,400 kilometers of metro will be required if we have to manage this 59 crore people in the cities. So this is just to give an idea of the opportunities, available opportunities. As I mentioned, this realization of urbanization linked with the development came only in 90s when a very bold decision, after a long flip-flop, a decision was taken to build a metro system in city of Delhi. And that is how the Delhi Metro came into existence. And a phase 1 metro was sanctioned at costing about 10,000 crore, because at that time 10,000 crore used to be very, very big amount, and the level of confidence in the country was not that much to handle such type of project. The only experience of similar project was constructing a line in Calcutta, which took almost 25 years to complete a 16-kilometer line, and that dampened the spirit of construction of any metro anywhere in the country. The phase 1 was 10 years time was given. The DMRC did it in almost 7 years. The reason was quite obvious. We were very late, and therefore there was no time to wait and the benefit to be reaped as early as possible. So this project was completed 3 years ahead of the schedule, which was very unusual in our country of completing any project ahead of the schedule. Then after the success of phase 1, the phase 2 was also sanctioned, and then the goalpost was there, the Commonwealth Game in October 2010. And we were asked to complete 125 kilometers in about 5 years' time. So please note, while the length is doubled, phase 1 was just about 69 kilometers. So the length was doubled, time available was just 5 years' time. So DMRC did that also within 5 years, completed the entire project before the Commonwealth Games. And simultaneously other cities, Jaipur is one, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, they were also, after seeing the success at Delhi, the metro were planned and constructed in all those cities also. Then Delhi phase 3, 140 kilometers. You see now the expectations, the level of confidence, 140 kilometers in phase 3, another 45 add-on extension to Ghaziabad, extension to Noida, Greater Noida. So 185 kilometers, almost 185 kilometers. Nobody in the world attempted at such a level of project. So that's also in a very advanced stage of completion, and I'm happy to tell you that by the end of this year, we will add another 120 kilometers to the Delhi network of 213 kilometer network already operational. So 213 plus 140, we will be around 350 kilometers, which will be a very, very big network from the world standard. Now, the two major challenges the mankind is facing today. One is the energy crisis and the other is climate change. This is why I am telling you, because this will be the responsibility, your responsibility, that whatever you do in life, in whatever field you do, these things will certainly come in your way. These things will be required to be deliberated at every stage in whatever field you are. Climate change and energy crisis, and to some extent both are actually interlinked. And Delhi Metro, therefore, right from the beginning, we were very conscious about these two. Taking care of energy efficiency, we therefore went with the most sort of a energy efficiency system, lightweight, rolling stock coaches. It was mentioned in my introduction that Delhi Metro is the only metro in the world to have registered as a CDM project. Now I must tell you slightly about CDM projects, very interesting. CDM stands for Clean Development Mechanism. I think many of you may be knowing. Under the Kyoto Protocol, when world community got scared that if we keep on burning fossil fuel at this rate, burning petrol, coal for generating electricity, if we keep on doing this, the pollution level will be so high, the greenhouse gas emission will be so high, there will be global warming, and the existence of the mankind will be at stake. And therefore they acted sometime in 1980s. There was a time from 1950 onward when the progress of a country was judged simply because how much coal they are burning. The more coal burning, more electricity production was a positive indicator at those days, and it was considered that those are the developing country or better countries. After 1980 or 70, when this concern about the climate change came, so they sat together, and in 1990 there was a Kyoto Protocol where onus was put on the developed countries that you are culprit, you are creating more greenhouse gases, and therefore it is your responsibility to reduce these. So they were given target, the developed countries were given target that you will, this was done by United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And the developed countries were given this target to reduce the emissions by any way, by reducing the energy requirement or whatever way. And they were given one option also. This is how the CDM came. All those countries which were not obliged to do the reduction, but if somebody in those countries like India, we were not obliged. If we were to do something which reduces the greenhouse gas emissions, those countries who were obliged, they were not able to do, they could purchase this credit. So this was a part of the mechanism of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So under this scheme, we claim that the coach, rolling stock, energy efficient coach which we are deploying, This is regenerative type, that when it breaks, it generates the electricity back. This was for the, we claimed that you are not obliged to do this, but we are doing. And after 2-3 years rigorous exercise, this project was registered. And this was the first project anywhere in the world to get registered under the CDM. So we got every year, we proved that with this, we are reducing 90,000 tons of carbon dioxide emission was reduced because of this. So we got the credit of that every year. Then came the second, the mother of all CDM projects. We said that the number of passengers we are carrying, if no metro was there, they would have traveled by other means like cars or buses. And the cars, buses or road vehicles, they emit more emission, more carbon dioxide as compared to the rail-based transport system of metro per passenger kilometer. And the biggest difficulty in this was that they wanted a documentary proof. And there was no documentary proof, and that is why nobody in the world could get, because there are other metros, there are many metros, and the claim of everybody was turned down only on this account that there is no documentary proof. How will you prove two scenarios with metro and without metro? So we again suggested a very innovative method of quantifying, and I personally chased this issue and involved in this. I convinced them that the fact that there is a reduction, if you agree to that, the quantification comes second. And then we suggested that you have a sampling technique. You sample, survey, say, as many number of passengers as you want, so 5,000 and 10,000, and ask them that if you were not having this facility of traveling by metro, what would have been the other mode of transport? And then you can generate an equation that 1 passenger kilometer of metro is equal to 0.1 bus plus 0.2 of three-wheeler per 0.3 of, like that you could generate an equation, and then you can calculate the no metro scenario, and then give any discount for sampling or statistical technique, and ultimately this was accepted. This was again for the first time, and we received a huge carbon credit, about 6 lakh ton per year, 6 lakh carbon credit per year. So these two projects really put DMRC on the front of the energy efficiency. Then as I mentioned, huge infrastructure will be required, roads will be required, housing, commercial space will be required.